Welcome to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprophet.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Prophet podcast. I'm Craig Phillips, joined as always by Jeff Torrey, and it's a Week 9 review tonight. We go over some of the top players from the week, some of the maybe some disappointments as well. We got a good game going right now. Patriots-Packers are in the fourth quarter right now in a close one. So we'll I might keep an eye on that a little bit too. We got some stuff riding on that one tonight, but let's just jump into it. We'll talk about some of the top guys again. I mean, we're going to kind of go over the scoring leaders. Let's start at running back. I mean, Kareem Hunt, a great game again. This guy's just been on fire lately. And there's no second-year slump, no sophomore slump from him this year. Just getting touchdowns. That offense is great. So, I mean, there was a lot of people kind of, downplayed Kareem Hunt this year and kind of just, he fell down a little bit from maybe where he should have been, but he's ridiculously good the way he's been playing.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the run game has been solid, but really, I mean, the past 4 games, the fact that he's been able to get into the pass catching kind of side of the offense as well, which obviously with Mahomes is huge for him. But if you look at those numbers, that's where he's really started to shine and why his numbers are even better than I would have expected them to be. He has at least 1 touchdown catching the ball in the last 4 games. This game, he did only have 1 long one for a touchdown, 50 yards. But the games before that, 5 catches in each of those past 3. So but there's very little you can knock Hunt. He's solid, consistent, and he has the ability because of this offense to just go off every single week. It's getting almost out of hand.
Well, and then like the second guy, Alvin Kamara, went off again, this time against the Rams, which is impressive. I mean, 45 points they scored against the Rams, but Kamara, 2 touchdowns rushing, 1 touchdown receiving. Remember all those people that were freaking out about the first Mark Ingram game? Remember that?
Well, I mean, even better, you look at Mark Ingram because you're thinking, okay, well, maybe they're both doing it in tandem like they did last year. But that has not been the case. It's been feast or famine for one or the other. And Alvin Kamara, luckily for a lot of us out there, he has been the one that's feasting. And it looks like Ingram is taking a little more of a backseat than we first thought. Doesn't mean he's, don't panic, but it's good for Kamara owners to see that. I think that Kamara's going to be first and foremost, and then they're going to try to work in Ingram a little more.
And then this is pretty much, I'm looking through these guys here, it's pretty much the same story. Christian McCaffrey's the next one, and he's up there because he not just runs the ball and gets those touchdowns, he's catching balls for 78 yards. So, great game for McCaffrey. Tevin Coleman, next on the list, 2 touchdowns receiving. It's the same thing. The next one is actually James White. The game's still going on, and there's James White again with another huge game.
Yep, another touchdown.
And 2 touchdowns rushing, and he has 72 yards receiving. And okay, then you go James Conner. He had the 107 rushing, but he had 56 receiving yards and a touchdown. And then Duke Johnson, he doesn't even run the ball, 9 catches for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns. So basically, you just got to catch the ball. And there's a lot of those guys now.
Yeah, a lot of them just really, strictly pass catching. And that's actually a very good one. I think people are going to want to know about Duke Johnson. What do you feel about him? Because obviously we, telling people if he was available to pick him up to find out how that offense gets along without Hyde. Finally got him involved because the first game, obviously, he did nothing. Do you see this actually continuing? 9 catches is a lot.
Okay, first game with a new offensive coordinator. I think this is something they wanted to do. And I think it's going to keep going. I mean, first game with a new OC, this is what happens. This is going to keep going on. I mean, they got beat by Kansas City, but they, at least were respectable for most of the game.
They hung in there.
And I definitely think this will go forward. Nick Chubb's still able to get his because he got 22 carries. Johnson's not getting any of the carries. He's just going to catch the ball. And I do think it's going to continue.
I do too. And he has Atlanta next week as well. I think that's a good matchup for him. But yeah, I think that is going to be the very clear-cut roles that they have. Chubb is going to get all of the carries, and Duke Johnson is going to turn into a very high-volume wide receiver, if you will.
And the other guys, we don't really need to talk about them much because they're just that good. They're going to be there every week. But James White, man, I was wrong on this guy. He's good. They're using him.
Yeah,
and
Yeah, exactly, and that's the beauty of it is, and he's a fine talent. He really is. He can do a lot of really good things. But if you look at him as a pure running back, you wouldn't think too much of him. But the way that New England uses him, oh man, he's getting the job done, and he's put every other running back, in the rearview mirror.
And then, Jordan Howard's on the list because he got 2 touchdowns. His yardage doesn't look very impressive, but this was a game you kind of figured he would do well. But Tariq Cohen did nothing today. They just didn't need him.
This was an ugly game, kind of on both sides offensively. But this is a classic Jordan Howard game. Like, just pound him out, kind of grind him out yardage, getting 2 TDs, so it looks good. But that Buffalo defense is no joke. It's too bad that that offense is, as bad as the defense is good.
Yeah, they're terrible. I don't even know what to say. It's really, really bad.
They are. They're really, really bad.
Todd Gurley's actually way down the list today. Way down the list. But he still had 13.9. Got a touchdown rushing. That's a bad game that's a bad game for Todd Gurley. That's crazy that is his worst game by almost 6 points in standard this year, and it's 13.9.
Yeah, that is crazy. Worst game to date.
Yep.
Wow.
And no other real standout performances. Those are the guys at the top. The one I did skip over kind of a bit was Tevin Coleman, which kind of surprised me. But I mean, he's been pretty decent, but he just hasn't done that well yet. But hey, with Freeman out, I mean, this is going to be Coleman's time to finally do this, which we always thought he could for the last couple of years. So it's nice to actually see that, hey, this guy actually can do something, and could make it interesting if he goes somewhere else next year. Actually gets to be a main guy. Maybe he can do it.
Right. He is a talented guy, and I thought he would have a few more games like this, especially since he is, the one back. But the interesting part about this is he didn't necessarily get more work. He just did more with the catches that he got. I mean, really, he's averaging anywhere from 10 to 15 kind of, carries a game. And he got 13 this game, 88 yards, very, very respectable. Nice, but the pass catching, 5 catches for 68 yards and 2 touchdowns, far surpassing anything that he's done before. Even, the closest thing to that when he had 4 catches in week 2 for only 18 yards. So you wonder if they're going to continue that or if that was just a game plan against Washington. So I don't know if I feel differently about Tevin Coleman. I think he's just a solid guy to have, but I don't think these numbers are going to jump up or stay up there.
So one thing I thought was interesting, Frank Gore had 20 carries, only got 53 yards out of it, but Kenyon Drake only had 3 carries. I mean, and Kenyon Drake had been pretty decent the last few weeks because he got a touchdown, or 2. Wasn't terrible, but then Frank Gore out carries him 20-3, and just, man, Frank Gore has been double-digit carries now for 6 straight weeks. He's not really fantasy viable, but he's made Kenyon Drake pretty much not. I don't know how you start Drake when there's games like this. I know he did well, but the last 2 weeks, but man, I couldn't feel comfortable starting him.
No, and do you have any? Do you think that this was game flow? Because obviously they were playing the Jets, and it was a very low-scoring game. Gore is definitely more sure-handed. Do you think that they were just trying to kind of eat up clock, and they didn't need Drake this game? Or
it's possible, but it just gets me to the point where I can't trust it whatsoever. Just when I thought
he's a very scary guy to play.
I thought I was just starting to turn around on that, and no, it didn't happen. Another player is turning around on, and then does nothing is Lamar Miller. Back to his 12 for 21. They got the bye next week. Deontay Foreman's going to be coming back to practice probably this coming week. Oh, there we go.
Good old Lamar. He's finally back. I feel right. I feel so good for not jumping on the bandwagon. But yeah, the other one that I did want to bring up was Delvin Cook. Even though this game offensively neither team did real well, it was finally good to see him get out there. Obviously, he had the one big run. But, it looks like he's getting back to the place where he's going to be healthy, and that is very bad news for anyone that's been holding on to Latavius Murray. So that'll be the thing to kind of watch going forward, but it looks like Delvin Cook is going to be the guy, especially now he has the bye. So that is definitely big news.
And then like Adrian Peterson, only 9 carries for 17 yards after how good he's been through one of those games together, which is now his 3rd one of the year he's done like this. But I expect him to bounce back against Tampa. You don't know when that game's coming from him, but it's probably going to come.
Yeah, he's going to be a little up and down. You don't expect him to have, be a top 10 guy every single week. I think he's, the past 3 weeks or so, he's been very, very solid. When he gets the carries, he'll be good. When he doesn't, there's not much he can do because he's not a pass catching back, especially in this offense necessarily. So if you only get 9 carries, it's going to be a rough week for you.
Then over at wide receiver, Michael Thomas bounced back. We were talking about it before, where he hadn't been great for the last 4 games. He's been pretty decent, but not like he did the first 3. But now he's back, 12 for 211 yards and a touchdown. Huge game for him.
What a monster game!
Really is. The guy's so good too.
This was wonderful to see too, because I think that's what a lot of people kind of worry about. He started off incredibly hot, right? And as soon as Alvin Kamara kind of taking over, obviously Ingram comes back. I think anyone would think, oh man, is this going to turn into a run first offense? Michael Thomas is still pretty good bet being the number 1 there, but that is the game that people have been missing, and to do it against the Rams. Kudos to him, but it just makes me feel really good about Michael Thomas moving forward.
Then Adam Humphries is actually number 2 right now this week in standard scoring with 8 catches for 82 yards and 2 touchdowns. Followed up last week, 7 for 76. Man, I don't know. This could be with Fitzpatrick. Maybe this is a thing, but there's so many players there that can catch the ball. He did this week because Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson did nothing. So I don't know if this is something this guy can keep doing.
Yeah, I think he'll. I wouldn't expect him to. But I think that's the bigger question. Obviously, Humphries, he has a great game. But, Evans and not even Jackson. I'm used to seeing him kind of fall off a little bit. 2 catches for 32 yards. But Evans is the real big surprise. 1 catch for 16 yards. And, he did well with Fitzpatrick. He's been doing well all year. Maybe Carolina, did they shut him down? Or, do you have, you have Evans too. So what do you think was the issue, I guess?
I don't know. It's a weird, it was a weird game. He had 10 targets. So to only get 1 catch out of 10 targets, I don't even think Michael Thomas has missed that many. He's not even had 9, he's had 3 or 4 targets this year that he didn't catch. Evans has 9 in a game. Man, I don't know. He had kind of a knee issue throughout the week after last week. Actually, I thought it was a bet. When I saw it last week, I thought it was, dude was done for the year. But maybe there's something a little more there. I don't know. 10 targets, though, and only 1 catch out of it. It's, a little worrisome, but it's not the old days of Mike Evans where they just force-fed him the ball. They're spreading it around. They have Humphries, they have Howard, they have Jackson, Godwin. They don't need to force it to Evans like they used to, so they don't. Even though the 10 targets, he would have got 20 before. So, a little, I don't know. I think it's just a 1-game thing. I think he'll be fine, but it's a little worried.
Right, nothing you want to see, but probably no reason to panic.
Hopefully not. We'll see. Julio.
Speaking of,
Julio.
Finally,
Julio gets a touchdown. There we go.
Oh my gosh, that has got to stop the drought. He's been worthwhile to have just because he's such an amazing wide receiver, being able to get the yardage he's been able to do. But to finally get in the end zone, every single owner has to be like, oh, finally, give me a break, really? Can you have? How many 100 yards games can you have before you get in there? He had 4 before this and almost 5, and couldn't get into the end zone. It was ridiculous. So kudos to Julio Jones and every manager that's out there that had him on his team. You can celebrate finally.
Curtis Samuel's up here because he ran one in for a touchdown, caught a touchdown, but there's very limited volume, so it's not going to continue. Probably he'll get a touchdown here or there, but not something you can play. Josh Gordon, the game's going on yet. There's still about 4 minutes left. He has a touchdown there, 4 catches for 115 yards. So he continues to be, he's involved. He's startable every week. And this is his best game now by far. So we'll see if he, keeps trending that way. I think it's going to with Gordon. I think he's just going to keep getting better.
I do too. I mean, I think he is supremely fitted for this offense in order to be their big playmaker. And you can tell that they're trying to get him the ball more and more. Finally, got him in the end zone, big play. I mean, I don't think that really changes anything else, which is nice for anyone that owns like Edelman or White. I think he's that other piece that they've been looking for. I think that he's going to have success continually moving forward.
And then good games from Brandon Cooks, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen finally, which I think we've been talking about this. Just Keenan Allen owners, just wait. Just wait.
Yeah.
And there he goes.
And it's always the second half of the season. And it's not like he has the receptions. The yardage has been fine. And and it's funny too because he still hasn't gotten the end zone all year. Well, no, I'm sorry, week 1 he did. But he's almost like as bad as Julio when it comes to that. But yeah, 124 yards. He did great.
Calvin Ridley got himself a touchdown there. So it makes a decent game. Cooper Kupp came back from injury, got himself a touchdown. So solid game. But here's the interesting stat line of the day. Maurice Harris from Washington, 10 catches, 124 yards. Now, I have no idea where this thing came from. But
thank you. I didn't either. I mean, the games before reception-wise, 3, 3, 3, 2, and then 10 against Atlanta when they weren't using any of their other guys that may have, usually got those targets. I don't know what was going on.
You know what the crazy thing is? This could be something that continues only because I don't like any of the other Washington receivers. And none of them have been impressive. Josh Doxson is the one we always thought should do it. He never really has. He got a touchdown today, but he hasn't really done much at all. Paul Richardson, don't really think much of him. Jameson Crowder's been hurt, and even when he wasn't hurt, he really wasn't good. So, why can't this keep going?
And
no, I'm saying Jordan Reed too hasn't done anything.
Yeah, that's the crazy part too. If you look at the people who caught the ball today, really, you have 2 tight ends and a running back, and then you have 2 running backs, and then even Bibbs. It is a very weird wide receiving core. So when you say, hey, he got 10 receptions for 124 yards, I think this is definitely a guy that should automatically be on your radar just because he is in a desert. If anyone figures out how to make production happen there, he's definitely going to be worthwhile because as we've seen in the past too, they will hammer out those little routes with Alex Smith.
So this game is still ongoing, but Marquez Valdez-Scantling has 4 straight double-digit games in standard scoring. Kind of crazy. And he had the 7 for 68 in a touchdown the first time he got the double digits. Now 3 for 103, 2 for 45, and touchdown 3 for 101. So it's not a great amount of catches, but that's 4 straight double-digit games for this guy.
Yeah, it's something to take notice of for sure. Especially with what Allison did not play.
Again, and I don't even when he comes back, he's probably equal playing field with MVS now. It's kind of a, just another. I wouldn't. Can you put him in your lineup? You feel good about it? Not feel good about it, but
no. I was gonna say I would. Yeah, you look at the numbers they've been putting up. For like a bye week or a fill-in, I absolutely would. I wouldn't feel supremely confident about it, but I think that he's probably a better pick than a lot of other wide receivers you can get out there. But this is actually a very interesting point too, because usually when you look at the Green Bay Packers and their wide receiving core, usually you would be able to pick out 2 to 3 and feel very good about putting them in and know what they're going to do. You have Adams, and then obviously if you take Jimmy Graham tight end out of the equation, if it's just wide receivers, you have Adams, and then who do you feel good about putting in? He might be the second one now.
At this point, it's not Randall Cobb for me. That's for sure. I don't think it can be Allison either.
Banged up. You don't know where he's going to be now that if he comes back.
I think it has to be him. I really do.
Yeah. So it is. It's kind of an unusual spot this late in the season for Green Bay.
Yep. It's weird that Randall Cobb, though, like that guy, I don't even think they should use him at this point, it feels like. I mean, what's the point of him? He's not the same player he once was. He's lost. Those injuries have really killed it for him. So this was an interesting one, I thought. Demaryius Thomas was gone. So we're expecting big things from Emmanuel Sanders, and especially in the absence of Thomas, and just nothing. 6 for 47. And even Cortland Sutton had only 3 for 57. So maybe these guys aren't going to step up and do much. It's just going to be nothing.
But that was the crazy part. His numbers looked exactly the same when he was playing the wide receiver 3-point part. Yep. Not what I hope to see right out of the gate. I mean, I know it's Houston and they do have a good pass rush, but at the same time, and they do go into a bye, so hopefully they'll get their stuff together after week 10. But I'm definitely not starting on the right foot after Demaryius Thomas gets shipped off. Everyone, including myself, I really thought this was going to be where, Emmanuel Sanders, he's been doing well, way better than I thought he was going to be doing. I thought he was going to kind of continue, but I thought Cortland Sutton immediately out of the gate was primed in order to look better than he did today.
Well, and in the same exact kind of scenario, Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay with Golden Tate gone didn't really do much. 6 for 66 for Jones, and Galladay 3 for 46. And Tate being gone didn't help him out of his slump here that he's been going off the last 3 weeks. Now, 3 weeks in a row since the bye, he's done pretty much nothing. He's had 6 catches total over those games for 95 yards, I think. 6 catches for like 95 yards last 3 games. Not getting it done. That whole Lions offense was terrible, though.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder how much, but I guess that isn't an issue to really take into account, though, because if Minnesota is able to shut them down, then they have Chicago next week. And then Chicago again in week 12, Carolina in between it. LA Rams after that, it doesn't get any easier for them. They have a lot of good defenses they're about to play. So if you do have these Lions players, you hope that they get on track quick, because it does not get any easier. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say it, because it is pretty crazy. I mean, they have Buffalo at week 15 as well. You have a lot of good defenses you're going to hit going into the playoffs for fantasy.
So I'll go over to tight end here quickly. Travis Kelce, number 1 tight end of the week again. He's the number 1 tight end in fantasy now. He's the guy by far.
Yeah, tremendous.
O.J. Howard, 2 touchdowns. Only 4 catches, but 2 of them are touchdowns. Since he came back from the injury, he's been just as good as he was before. And so
that makes me feel so good.
Even with missing an entire game, he's going to be a top 5 tight end stats after this one. So he's up there. Let's see here. How about what's his name? Jeff Heuerman from Denver, 10 for 83 and a touchdown.
Yeah,
it's worth.
I guess he's the one
worth watching. He has a bye though, but it's worth remembering and watching, because, like we've said before, there's not much at the tight end position.
No, there is not, and I mean, who knows? Maybe he's the one that's going to make up or like step up for Demaryius Thomas leaving.
Could be. We'll find out, but hey, worth just taking an eye. Let's keep watching it. Greg Olsen, pretty solid game. He's touchdowns in 3 straight, so yeah, he's one of the probably top options at tight end, just like that.
And really the one name that stands out on this list, because it's pretty straightforward. But the guy that you hyped up way earlier in the year that you wanted to see if he could turn into anything, finally did something.
Yeah, Nick Vannett finally here. 6 catches, 52 yards, a touchdown. He's kind of been getting a little bit of opportunity, for a while now, and hey, finally able to turn it into something. And hey, like we keep saying, this off the tight end position's been pretty bad. So hey, it's you should look at him. I thought Ed Dixon coming back last week and getting a touchdown, 2 catches only, but I thought for some reason Vanette's chances were done, and then Dixon only gets 1 target for nothing today. So maybe it's not. So yeah, Nick Vannett, I like the guy, and they lost the game though. It wasn't like they had huge numbers, and still Vanette's out there. There's just not a lot of guys to throw to there. Baldwin's not the same player, I feel like, right now. And Lockett's the number 2, which I've never been the biggest Lockett guy. So hey, I think Vanette's going to be an option here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
There's really not much else. That's about it. Chris Herndon, I'll say, from the Jets, continues to be involved a bit there. He had 4 for 62, which, again, when it comes to tight end, that's actually decent. We don't mind that. But the last 4 weeks, he's gone 11.6, 10.2, 7.6, 6.2. So if you're in a desperate need for a start, on a bye week, that's not a terrible option next week against Buffalo. So look at maybe Herndon. Yeah, this tight end position, man, it's a bit ugly. It doesn't seem to get too much better. You get somebody that steps up because he gets 60 yards, so that's where we look at it.
Yeah, really. I mean, It is what it comes down to. Can you get 50 yards? And someone that we had talked about last week, Njoku.
Yeah.
He got back to exactly what he did before. Not a huge week, but 4 catches, 53 yards, no touchdown. But it's good to see after he had no targets the week before. It was really bizarre. So he's back, and then he has Atlanta next week. So he should return to a back end tight end one.
And then quickly at quarterback not a lot of surprises. Drew Brees was good, which I guess was kind of a surprise in the fact that it was against the Rams. We didn't think he'd do this well. He had a great week. Matt Ryan did pretty well. Jared Goff did well. Pat Mahomes, another 3 touchdowns, 375 yards. He's just good. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick threw 4 touchdowns, threw 2 picks, so it's a perfect Ryan Fitzpatrick game. It's about what you're going to get.
Yeah, beautiful for fantasy.
Yep.
They lost the game, but every time he plays, he does well fantasy-wise, so keep that in mind.
Roethlisberger, Newton, Watson, Wilson, all solid fantasy outings. Rodgers, again, he had a good – it's not bad. He had end up with 23.2, but that's not Aaron Rodgers, huge numbers. But he's still fine, 23.2. You could be like me and have Kirk Cousins who gets you 8.9 for the week. Jeez, that's just disappointing. But, hey, they didn't have to do much. He was 18 for 22, but only 164 yards. But didn't need to do much. It could have been worse and had Stafford, actually, in the same game. 6.6.
Right, exactly. And actually, just to go back to him a little bit, because, every metric that we use in order to, look at individuals, especially quarterbacks and how well they're going to do, everything was slanted against Ben Roethlisberger this week, and he came out and played a wonderful game. So I just have to. That is an interesting one as well, because Baltimore is the real deal. Defensively,
they were, but I don't know anymore.
Yeah, he made them look very average, and he did it, in Baltimore, which is usually not his forte either. So obviously his 29 points in standard, huge uplift for whoever was playing him.
And then how about, since we didn't have our Thursday night episode like normal, Nick Mullins from San Francisco. Now, where the heck did this guy come from? I literally had not heard of this guy until this week.
I had to look up him as well. I watched some highlights from college.
Southern Miss,
but
I think
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea. And obviously, all the hoopla, if you watched any of the game, you just kept hearing over and over about how the guys in the locker room love him. He's a hard worker and all that good stuff. But he made, and it is Oakland, so it's a good game to start with. But he made them look so freaking bad. 262 yards, 3 touchdowns. Didn't make too many mistakes. At least they didn't make him pay for it. And then, so I think what is it? The news is that he is going to start again, I believe. Yep. So he's going to play against the Giants. In your head, do you just kind of say there's no possible way?
Yeah.
Where do you have
no possible way? I can't see it. Well, but that just might be the fact that we just didn't know who this guy was. So, hey, we'll see. But I don't expect much. The offense isn't very good. It's just that was a fluky game. I feel like in Oakland's so bad.
Oh man, both of those teams are.
Yep.
And and Raheem. And I don't know how to say his name. It's a bad way to end it.
He was looking good.
I know, and they finally were giving him carries, and he was, really dynamic when he got the ball. He was fun to watch, and, IR, so out for the year. So if you did pick him up, unfortunately, you don't get to see where that goes.
But all right, I think that'll do it for the review. It's about all I got today. We only have a few more weeks till we get the playoffs here. 4 more regular season weeks till people hit playoffs? Getting close.
Yeah, it's time to tighten up those teams, make that playoff run.
We'll be back tomorrow with our waiver wire show. See if anybody maybe popped up on the list this week. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.